Hi everyone, welcome back to another video of CambiHub, and in today's video we're going to do 0653 Combined Sciences paper 22 MCQ February-March 2023. It's a 45 marks paper and I'm going to explain each and every question of this paper to you. Okay, starting with the first question, which is always bio section, then chemistry and then physics. So starting with the bio section, it says two pieces of potato are cut to leave exactly the same mass and shape. The mass is measured and recorded. So we have a piece of potato in two kind of solution, water and concentrated salt solution. Now before reading the question only, if you have studied combined sciences properly, in your mind you should think about the process of osmosis, right, which is the movement of a higher water potential to a lower water potential. Now using this trick or this formula that I've just told you, we'll see. So water potential here is high, right, and potato has a lower water potential, so it's going to go inside potato, so the mass is going to increase. Whereas in this case the water potential is lower outside, so water is going to come out, right, because water potential, it is a movement from a higher water potential to lower, so it's concentrated means water potential is lower here and higher in potato, so it will come out, so this is decrease. So question 1 answer is C part, increases and decreases. Question number 2 says, under which conditions is an enzyme described as denatured? When it is cooled to a lower temperature, not true. When it is turned into dry powder for storage, not true. When it is used to catalyze a different reaction, not true. When the shape of the active site is permanently changed. Because please remember, when the shape of the active site is permanently changed, the substrate, right, the substrate which would be of another shape would not be able to join the active site anymore, so this would not form an enzyme substrate complex. So correct answer is D part here. Which two nutrients are needed for healthy bone and tooth development? Obviously we would need calcium for bones. Whenever we talk about bones, we need calcium, right? Iron is for hemoglobin, so this cannot be the answer. Fiber is not a we'll consider it not to be a nutrient, so it will be D part. Vitamin D is also necessary for bone and tooth development. Talking about question number 4, it says some of the organs are shown. Now which of these organs conduct both mechanical and chemical digestion? Which of these organs conduct both? C. The answer will be mouth and stomach. So 1 and 4, B part. Reason being, let's start with the mouth. So first of all, we churn food, we break food into smaller pieces, we eat food, right? So it is churned, then it turns to bolus, and then it moves inside the food pipe through the movement of peristalsis. However, this is mechanical digestion happening in the mouth. Also, simultaneously, amylase is also excreted through our salivary glands in the mouth. So chemical digestion is also happening. Same thing in stomach too. I mean, you need to remember for stomach, the explanation for mouth can be this, and the correct answer is 1 and 4, B part. Which statement describes a feature of root hair cells of plants? They help the roots to move between the soil particles to the ground, which is not the correct answer. They have a fully permeable cell membrane? No. They have large surface areas to increase water uptake by osmosis, which is correct because their role is to, this is their role. They have partially permeable cells to give the cells more strength? No. Okay. Which statement about all arteries is correct? See, one trick that I would want you to remember if you get confused between arteries and veins. Artery starts from A. A means away. So arteries are always going to transport blood away from the heart, not towards the heart, away from the heart. So correct answer is D. Question 6, D. Question number 7 says, okay, we need to mark the correct amount of carbon dioxide, oxygen and water vapor that we inspire and expire. So see, carbon dioxide when we inspire has to be the lowest amount and expired has to be the highest. This is what common sense says. So we cannot trust on option A and option D, right? Then oxygen needs to be the highest in inspired air and lowest in expired air. So option C can also not be the answer, right? So correct answer is question 7, B part. Okay, adrenaline is produced by the adrenal glands in the times of relaxation? No, at the times of stress. This is the flight and flight response, right? This is the fight and flight response. So it is there at the time of stress. It targets vital organs, increasing the dash, not directly the breathing rate. So, okay, we are jumping directly to the breathing rate, but then breathing rate is increased because heart rate is increased. So the first cause of the breathing rate is heart rate. So we are going to go to the roots of the problem causing the thing. Then not glycogen. Glycogen is a complex complex atomic particle. However, glucose is the correct answer. So question 8, the correct answer is A part. Which chemical is involved in controlling the growth of the plant shoots? Obviously, this is auxin. There is no explanation to this question. If you have studied combined science course perfectly, you would know that this is auxin. The diagram shows a section of a flower. Which row describes the label part of the flower? So this is anther for sure. This is stamen. This is ovary. So obviously there is no explanation to this question. You need to learn it, right? Stigma and ovary, right? Okay. Where does fertilization takes place? Again, there is no explanation to it. You need to learn that it's the location of it, right? Okay. Which term describes the woodland and the interaction of living things? Always remember, whenever there is interaction, it is ecosystem, right? So if you have studied the course well, you would know this. However, a trick is whenever they talk about interaction, the correct answer will be ecosystem. Question number 13, the concentration of nitrate ions in the lake increases. Whenever if you have studied the combined science syllabus properly, whenever I just read this line, first thing that should come in my mind is the process of eutrophication, right? The process of eutrophication. So there is a decrease in decomposition? No. There is a decrease in growth of producers? No. There's an increase in aerobic respiration by decomposers, which is most likely. There is an increase in dissolved oxygen? No. So marine animals die because there is increase in decomposition by decomposers as they increase their aerobic respiration. So C part is the correct answer. Question 14, one of the easiest questions I have ever seen in combined science paper is question 14. Starting with the chemistry part, a very, very, very easy question. So they have shown you 3 structures. You just need to tell how many atoms are there. So this is water, 1, 2, 3. So there are 3 atoms here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So there are 9 atoms here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There are 5 atoms here. So 3, 9, 5. 3, 9, 5. So correct answer for question number 14 is D part, which is very surprising to see. These kind of questions, they are pretty rare. Question number 15, which elements react together to give positive ions and negative ions that have the same electronic configuration or structure as argon? So the correct answer for this is calcium and chlorine. Why? Let's see. So we all know calcium is in group 2, right? Group 2. And chlorine is in group 7. So how many valence electrons does calcium have? Calcium has 2 valence electrons, which means it is going to lose those electrons, right, and gain a positive charge. Whereas when we talk about group 7, which is chlorine, it is going to gain 1 electron from each calcium and complete its octet. So both will complete octet, which means both are going to have 8 electrons in the outer shell. Argon is in group 8. So it has 8 electrons in their outer shell. So all of these 3 have the same electronic structure as argon. So correct answer is calcium and chlorine. Moving on to the next question. Question number 16 related to electrolysis. Which statement explains why bubbles from the positive electrode? So there's a bubble from the positive electrode, which is anode. So which means there has been some anion attracted to it. We all know in this case, you need to learn whenever we have a dilute sulfuric acid and water, hydrogen atoms are going to win the race. So oxide ions lose? No. First of all, it's anode, so ions are going to lose. This has to be clear. So wherever they are writing that they will gain, that is not the correct answer. So gain is also not the correct answer, right? Hydrogen ions lose electrons to form hydrogen? No. They lose electrons to form oxygen and water, right? Okay. Question 17, the reaction between lead to nitrate, dilute sulfuric acid produces insoluble lead to sulfate. Okay. So lead to nitrate means PbNO4 2. So lead is going to have a +2 charge. When we do crisscross, it is going to come here. Plus H2SO4 is going to give us PbSO4 bracket 2. Let's write the charges. So Pb +2, NO3 minus, right? SO4 2 minus H plus, Pb plus 2, SO4 minus. Now which ions did not change? So this is the reactant, this is the product. So if we see lead is being used, SO4 is also being used. Where did these two things go? Where did these two things go? These two things are the spectator ions, because they didn't have any role in the reaction. That's why they're not there in the in the product side, right? So the correct answer is A part. Question number 18, which represents activation energy. It is always from the reactant to the peak. So this is the reactant, to the peak is this. So an arrow, okay, A is the correct answer because this is the reactant to the peak, right? So this distance is your activation energy represented by EA. Okay, which statement explains the effect of temperature on rate of reaction? At higher temperature, more particles have sufficient energy to overcome the activation energy, which is true because more particles are going to vibrate faster, they are going to gain kinetic energy, and they are going to overcome the minimum energy required to start a reaction, which is nothing, in other words, activation energy. At higher temperature, particles collide less frequently. This is factually wrong. Irrespective of seeing if it's the correct answer or not or matching the situation, it is factually wrong. So this cannot be the answer. At lower temperature, particles collide with more energy, so more bonds are broken. Does not make sense. According to chemistry, it is wrong. At lower temperature, the particles have lower concentration. No, they're going to have. There's no relation of temperature and concentration. There is relation of rate of reaction with temperature and rate of reaction with concentration, but not with temperature and concentration. Okay. Now we know one thing: losing of oxygen is reduction. Gaining of oxygen is oxidation. What is an oxidizing agent which is reducing itself to oxidize something else? So correct answer will be C, because if you see, iron is losing an oxygen to oxidize this. Iron is losing an oxygen. So iron is reducing itself, however, it will be the oxidizing agent. Right? Question number 21. Question number 21 says, which solid reacts with sulfuric acid to produce a gas? We all know, wherever we see carbonate in these cases, this is the trick. Whenever they're trying to produce a gas, carbonate is going to produce which gas? CO2. So this is the trick. Carbonate means they're talking about there's some relation to gas, right? Question 22, it says some water is added to colored powdered mixture. After shaking, a blue solution and a white solution is formed. Okay, so we have a colored mixture, which means both of the elements will be colored. Now they're saying there's a blue solution formed. Do you remember copper sulfate crystals? If you have done a practical for that, there is CuSO4, copper sulfate crystals. They are blue colored crystals. We all know copper sulfate is blue colored. So copper to oxide, wherever oxide is there, that is not the answer, because we know it's blue color, so it has to be CuSO4 or copper sulfate, right? Then we all know that both of the reactants, both of the mixture should be colored. Is barium sulfate colored? Yes, it is. Why? Because it is a transition metal. Is sodium chloride colored? So correct answer is D part. This is how you manage stuff. This is how you manage things to get an appropriate answer. Which row describes the noble gas? Obviously, noble gas has full 8 electrons. It is the last row. It is in row 8 of your periodic table. Group 8, sorry, not row 8. Group 8, right? It is in the last group. So it has a full electronic configuration. It cannot react. So reactivity is going to be low and it is going to be monoatomic. Since it cannot react with another atom, it is going to be a single atom. Why is potassium more reactive than sodium? Okay. See, whenever we talk about them, we do not talk about electrons. Whenever we talk about reactivity, it is generally, see, both will form an ionic bond. You will not get potassium and sodium as it is in environment. Potassium and sodium, you will always find it with some other element bonded together with ionic bond. You cannot find pure potassium, pure sodium in environment. So since they are always found in ionic state, B part is correct answer. Question number 25, which color? Okay, anhydrous cobalt chloride with water. You need to learn this. There is no escape to it. So the correct answer is D part here. If you know, very well. If not, then just revise. Which statements about air pollutants are correct? Sulfur dioxide can damage buildings very well. Carbon monoxide cannot damage building. Carbon monoxide is a poisonous gas because it instead of making oxygen bind with hemoglobin, it comes in between and binds with hemoglobin. So there is no space for oxygen to bind. So your body cannot transport oxygen. So it is going to cause lack of oxygen in your body, and that's why it's called a poisonous gas. So carbon monoxide has that. So that's why it is a poisonous gas. Oxides of nitrogen are harmful to health. Yes, the fumes are harmful to health. So 1, 2 and 3. So A part is the correct answer for this. What is a homologous series of alkanes is correct? Which statement about homologous series of alkanes? Homologous series is a series of similar chemical compounds having similar chemical properties, same boiling points, same melting points, boiling points, and they are in the same functional group. So we all know there are 3 types of homologous series: alkanes, alkenes and alkynes, and they have to be in the same ratio. So correct answer is C. The carbon ratio to the carbon of the hydrogen atoms is same. That's why we have a formula for them, right? Using the formula we can take out the whole series. Moving on to question number 28. A measuring cylinder on the balance contains 40 centimeter cube of water. So earlier, okay, before we read the question, let me explain what is happening here. So we have an irregular object here and we need to find the density of that object, right? We need to find the density of that object. So what do we do is, right, we first of all, we take some water, we measure its mass and we measure the volume of the water. Then we dip this irregular object into the water, right? So this is going to displace water. This is the water level will rise when I dip this object. So this is volume 2. So when we subtract volume 2 minus the initial volume, we'll get the volume of the object, right? Same with the mass. Now, once we have dipped the object, we'll calculate the mass after we have dipped the object. So when we subtract mass 2 minus mass 1, you will get the mass of the irregular object. So this is the way to find density, mass, volume of an irregular object. Seeing the situation given in the question, they have said that there is 40 centimeter of water. So we have 40 centimeter of water here, right? And the reading is 30 grams. So this is mass 1. This is volume 1. Volume 1. Now once the stone is submerged, the density has now become 2. So what is density? Density is nothing but mass over volume, right? Density is now 2 and volume is 63 now. Volume 2 is 63. We need to find mass 2. So tell me one thing. We just discussed if we subtract the volumes, we'll get the volume of the object, and subtract the mass, we'll get the volume of the mass. So density is mass upon volume. So if we subtract mass 2, let's take mass 2 to be x. X minus the original mass by new mass minus the new volume minus the original volume, mass upon volume, will give us the density, right? 63 minus 40 is going to give you 23. Bringing it here, x minus 30 is 2 into 23. So x will be 2 into 23 plus 30, which is going to give you 82 grams. I hope this question is clear to you. Question 29. The force acting on a spring is gradually increased from 0 newtons. We need to find the graph of it. The spring eventually passes its limit of proportionality, which means spring cannot come in contact now. We can just extend the spring and nothing will happen, right? So it has lost its elasticity because it has crossed the limit of proportionality. Hooke's law. Okay. Now the key pointer to note here is that it starts from 0 newton. So here it's not starting from 0 newtons. So A is not the answer, C is not the answer. It's not starting from 0 newtons, right? Then it says it crosses the limit of proportionality. Now when it crosses the limit of proportionality, it can extend till infinite amount, but then and with force it can extend till its infinite amount, right? Then it will break. So correct answer is B. According to D, whatever amount of force we apply, the extension is going to be same, which is not true. It hasn't broken now, right? It will break eventually, but it hasn't broken now. So correct answer for this is question 29. The correct answer for this, let me just check the answer. It is B. Moving on to the next set of questions. Which object has a resultant force acting on it? Okay, a book rests on the table. So we have a book. It is there on the table. What kind of forces are acting on it? We have gravity, we have normal, normal force acting here, and the book is at rest. So these forces will cancel. There is no resultant force here. A car traveling up a hill in a straight line at a constant speed. At a constant speed, so there will be no resultant force. Football moving upwards after being kicked. So football is moving upwards. Gravity is also being applied. Yes, football is overcoming the force of gravity and moving upwards. So there is a resultant force in the upward direction. So C is the correct answer. Parachute descending at a constant speed again. So when it's constant, there is no resultant force acting on it. An object is falling in a vacuum. Okay, vacuum. Which statement describes the total quantity of energy? See, it's vacuum, so energy won't be lost due to external factors. So energy is going to be same at all the points, right? It's vacuum, so energy cannot be lost or transferred anywhere here. So energy is going to be same at all the 3 points. Now we have the gravitational field. So gravity is given to be 10, right? Mass is given, time is given. So we need to calculate which produces the greatest power. So power is nothing but work done upon time, right? Work done is nothing but work done is nothing but force into displacement. Force is nothing but mass into acceleration into displacement. Displacement is not given to us, so let's exclude this factor. So we can say it is mass upon area and t, and displacement is some constant, so we can ignore it. So we'll multiply mass into acceleration, which is 10, so by t, and we'll see which gives the greatest value. So 50 into 10 by 11. When you do that, you will get the answer to be 45.45 something. 55 into 10 by 11. You'll get the answer to be 50. 60 into 10 by 16. We'll get the answer to be 37.5. 85 into 10 divided by 16. You'll get the answer to be 53.125. So this has the highest value. Hence, correct answer is D part. Moving on to the next question. Which type of power station produces greenhouse gases? So one of the most famous greenhouse gases, CO2. We all know that. So which one is going to produce CO2? Coal. Why? Because when coal is being fired, combustion is there, and combustion will always produce CO2 and water, right? We learned that in hydrocarbons, but then it's going to be combustion. Now it says a glass tube contains cold water. The diagram shows small block of ice trapped at the bottom of the test tube by metal weight. The top of the test tube is heated with the position shown. Very soon the water at the top of the test tube is boiling, but the ice at the bottom has just started to melt. So at the top, particles escape first, and particles have more energy at the top, so it is heating, but then ice is melting slowly, right? So what does this experiment show about thermal conduction? First of all, conduction can only occur upwards. Irrespective of understanding if it's the correct or the wrong answer, it is factually wrong. So it cannot be the answer. Conduction cannot occur in liquids. Does not prove anything here, which is true, factually true. However, does not prove anything here. Does not show anything here. Glass is a good thermal conductor, factually wrong. So water is a bad thermal conductor, factually correct, and this is what they have shown. Because at the top, only at the top, we have more energetic particles. At the bottom, ice is melting down slowly. So this is what we're trying to show, that water is a bad thermal conductor because it's a fluid. Fluids can do convection or radiation. They cannot do conduction. Conduction is only for solids. Now, which states of matter can convection occur? Right, so it can only occur in fluids. So the correct answer here will be B part. Fluids means liquids and gases. I hope you know this. Fluids does not only mean liquid, it means liquids and gases both. Visible light and sound are both waves, which, we know sound has compression diffraction, so sound is a longitudinal wave. However, light is going to be a transverse wave because it comes in the electromagnetic spectrum. Moving on to question number 27. Which light has refracted more and which light slows down more? Right. So we can see that blue is getting refracted more, and since it's getting refracted more, it is more slowed down than red. So blue. Question 38. Which circuit is used to measure the current in the lamp and the so the main point here is which circuit shows potential difference across the lamp. So across the lamp, we need to show potential difference. What is that? Voltage. So across the lamp, we need to show potential difference. Across the lamp, ammeter? No. Across the lamp voltage, yes. Series, series. So across means parallel. So correct answer is B part here. Question number 39. Diagram shows a circuit containing resistors and 4 ammeters. Which ammeter has the smallest reading? Obviously, any ammeter which is there in series, the parallel ammeters are going to have less value than the series ammeters, and the resistance of this is the highest. So this is going to have the lowest current. So B part is the correct answer here. Question 4. When a computer, okay, this is a very tricky question. Just keep in mind that they are trying to confuse you between two things. When a computer is switched on, the current increases quickly to 3.1 amperes and then decreases slowly to 1 amperes when the computer is in use. The cable connecting to the computer to the power supply can safely carry up to 10 amperes. Are we talking about the cable here or the computer? The circuit contains a fuse. Which circuit? Computer. There is no circuit in the cable shown. Computer would have a circuit, so they're talking about computer. Right? But by giving this information, they're trying to confuse you. We all know that fuse rating is slightly above than what the circuit can handle or what the appliance can handle. So it is slightly above what the appliance can handle. We can see that this is 3.1 amperes. So slightly above can be 4 amperes or maybe 5 amperes. Correct answer is C. A lot of students would have done 13 amperes here because of this 10 amperes thingy, but they're not talking about the cable, they're talking about the computer system. I hope this video was very informative for you. Few tips. So this paper was comparatively difficult than other papers available online, right? I'm talking about one of the latest papers, and few key points, few key takeaways I've given you from this paper. I've given you a lot of tips here. Make sure you revise well for your combined science paper, and please leave time to fill your answers in the OMR sheet, because trust me, talking from the experience, there is not much time at the end. So make sure you try to finish your paper as fast as possible. But see, because filling it side by side is also not a solution. You have to do it at the end. However, you need to keep time for it. You need to do it at the end, but you need to keep time for it. So this is my suggestion. Don't do it side by side. Focus on your paper, right? Complete it in around 30 minutes. Keep at least 10 minutes, or maybe if you're fast enough to mark and you're confident, so keep at least 5 minutes at the end to transfer your answers from your paper, rough paper, to your OMR sheet, right? Your rough paper to your OMR sheet. No extra time is given. So this is a very stressful paper. Yes, last 5 minutes you should leave for revision, right? Because you need to check each and every answer. Sometimes you tend to read the question wrong. And please, one last tip, sleep well. If you will not sleep, you'll read the question wrong. MCQ is such an easy paper, but we lose marks because we tend to skip this information given here and just skip to the table here, which is not the solution. You need to read the information well. So thank you everyone. If you like, please subscribe and like the video. I'll see you in the next paper.